huge fly. So we're gonna get the ball rolling right now. Today we're gonna cover speaking part 2, and I do have a point to get to. And before that, let's warm up our vocal cords with a few random questions. Nhung, what have you been up to today?
Yeah, actually, today I feel very good because I could have a party with my family members. So
Mm,
I think it was good because I have been on a diet for quite long. So it is kind of a chance for me to also have a cheat day with some
mm.
Korean food. So yeah.
Wow, so you knocked yourself out with Korean food, huh?
Yes.
Mm. Are you a fan of spicy food?
Not really. Like actually in the past I used to really enjoy eating spicy food, but when I grow older, I think that it can be harmful to my health. So I think I don't like it anymore.
You do realize that you're only 21, right?
Yeah.
Well, you might have a change of heart somewhere down the line, or change of appetite. Okay. Well, hello Ngọc Lan, Ngọc Lan Day. Ngọc Lan, what have you been up to the entire day? This is the 7.5 class. I expect you to try to communicate in English whenever you can.
Yes.
So, what have you been up to?
You can say it again. Like the questions.
What
Which
have you been
question?
up to? As in, what have you been doing today?
I'm like today.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like quite a long day, but
Mm.
it's kind of fun because like the only day that I'm free during the week, I'm only free this day, so I decided to spend my day to my friends and we are hanging out to eating bòn dấm and we have a coffee date and we talk a lot. Let's see, we like for a long time we all busy so we cannot like catch up or like talk to each
Okay.
other.
Sure. Well, then, do I know these friends?
Yes, of course.
Oh, that
Um,
gang, right?
yes,
Did everyone
like
show up?
yes, the group of girls and like everyone show up in that
Did the
in
boys
this
show up as well?
no the boy uh no because like they not in Hanoi anymore. One
Oh.
boy he just moved to from his
Hmm.
hometown to work and live there, so only the
Hmm.
girls show up today.
Okay, so all the princes gather to have a feast and a coffee
Yes,
date as well.
yes,
Hmm. Thank
that's
you,
it.
Lan. Um,
Yes.
well, as for Tang, we know that you were on the road. Where were you again? Or where were you headed to?
So to be honest, I was traveling to what was formerly known as Nam Định province, but now it belongs to Ninh Bình province. Yeah, the reason I went there is that I attended a wedding of my friends. Sorry, I attended one of my friends' wedding.
Yeah.
I had a really special dish which was called like the sea snail. So in what I would describe as a really sour sweet sauce, and I found that to be really delicious. Yeah.
Sure. Are you back to Hanoi now? Or are you still in Nam Định?
No, well, actually, I don't reside in Hanoi. I reside in Taipei City, which is
Oh,
now part of Hưng Yên province. Yeah.
sure. Well, then, are you back to Taiping now?
Yeah, yes, I am. I'm
Okay.
now at home.
And
Mhm.
does that trip, between Taiping and Nam Định take a toll on your like mental clarity?
Well, actually, it did not. I was totally conscious right now. Mhm.
Okay, well that's nice because Nhung, do you remember a few weeks ago I was also on a trip to Nam Định to attend, yeah, a friend's wedding, and we had all kinds of fun. But when I returned to Hanoi for an English lesson on that particular day, I realized that I was kind of out of my element, and I had a really hard time connecting the dots. Do you remember that?
Yeah, sure.
Could you tell? Like, was it written all over my face?
Not really, but yeah, you couldn't really connect the ideas together at that time.
Yes, right. I mean, I never thought that, that singular trip would have such an impact on me. But when I returned from Namding, I had already slept for like, 2 hours on the coach or the limousine. But, when I, did my class with you, I couldn't, put my thoughts together at all. But I was able to, form sentences, but I mean, it was certainly a very lengthy process. Mm.
Well,
Okay,
did you have any alcoholic drinks that day?
no, 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 no,
Not at
no.
all.
I'm clean. I was clean.
I am
Yeah.
too.
Well, but I guess it's mostly because I don't travel that often, so my stamina perhaps wasn't that great. But still, I had fun. And speaking of having fun, wait, is this thing being recorded? Yes. Okay. Let me show you the screen. Here. So I'm gonna give you guys two speaking part two topics. You get to choose one of the two, and I'm gonna call three people to deliver a speech. Right? Well, I have a point to get to, so we can't do all of you. But the other kids would get to do something else during the lesson. So you know the drill. You have 1 minute to make some notes to prepare for your speech, and then you can speak about it between 1 and 2 minutes. Choose one of the two. Pick your poison. You have 1 minute, and after that, I'm going to send these topics in the chat box, right? Because I do need to make some comments. Well, that was not exactly nicely executed. Hold on. Oh, stupid iPad. Okay, the first topic and the second topic. Okay, so after that, you need to look at your chat box, to keep track of the topic, because I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that I could, make notes of your performance. But for the time being, well, prepare for one of these two topics, okay? Hello, Hian. Hian, are you back to your normal grind now?
Yes.
Well, do you know how I could tell?
I'm so sorry because on the last week I was totally sick and I have to say that it was a really bad time, so I couldn't join your class. I just can watch it through YouTube.
Did you like it?
Yes. Like I
I wanna,
just follow the
well,
YouTube channel.
okay, I'm gonna hold you accountable for your words. I'm gonna go to YouTube after this class to make sure that there are some likes on these videos. Anyway, 1 minute of preparation, everyone. Your time starts now. Okay, so as I've mentioned, you need to turn to the chat box. You should be able to see these two topics. And now I need to stop sharing my screen because I need to make some notes, okay? Let's start with Thắng.
I'm here. Can I start now?
Sure.
Well, a memorable time I received money as a gift was for my my university graduation, and it was about 2 years ago. And the gift come from my parents. At that time, they weren't able to attend the ceremony by themselves, but they sent me a card with a very generous amount of money inside. Well, in their message, they told me that they were incredibly proud of my achievement and wanted to give me something to help me get started in my professional life. So I believe that it was their way of investing in my future, which I found incredibly touching for me. Uh, upon receiving the gift, I thought about it for a while and decided to use the money to buy a high quality laptop. My old one was getting slow and unreliable, and I knew a new one would be essential for not only job hunting, but also my future career. So all in all, it felt like a practical and responsible way to use their gift. And every time I used that laptop, I thought of their support and encouragement. Yeah, that's the end of my speech.
Okay. But then do you often receive money from other people?
Well, actually, I don't, because I have a really high self-esteem, and I just want to grab my money by myself rather than waiting for someone to give me some financial support.
Thank you, you foolish boy. Well, I do have to say that, well, this is not part of the lesson, because oftentimes your examiner is just going to move on with questions and speaking parts, right? But Thắng, how stupid are you? Like, if people give you money, you have to take it. You have to take it, and you have to take it as much as you can, as often as you're blessed to be given the opportunity to do so.
Well, my philosophy is that something that is free is not worth it. I just want to do something by myself, and I need to feel that I had put a lot of effort
Okay,
on it to
fine. How old are you?
okay. Well, I'm just 2 years older than you. Yeah.
Do you know my real age, though?
Yeah, I know.
That's not
One of
possible.
one of my classmates told you that you were born in 2000, and yeah, and she actually she was at the same age as you. So yeah, that's the way I knew you. Mhm.
Wait, hold on. What are you talking about? Well, then how old are you? Stop making me, jump through the hoops to get to the answer.
Yeah, I'm 23. I was born in 2002. And yeah.
Lan, are you hearing this? Are you watching this live?
No. Yes. What's
Did you
that?
hear what he said?
Yes, he was one in Chinese. Chinese. How? Oh,
He
he
actually
younger than
he
me.
actually
Right?
fell for he actually fell for the thing about me being 25 or something.
Oh,
You know
really?
how
Oh my God, that was like, mm, I
that
don't
was
know.
what? That was what? That was understandable.
No,
That was perfectly, justifiable because I look young, at least on the internet, right,
maybe
Ngọc Lan?
it
Not
could be.
maybe,
Yes.
that's for sure.
Oh,
Okay,
and oh no, to be honest, the fact that you really, really white, that is one thing that I'm like impressed when saw you in my graduation.
oh
Graduate.
yes, I was
And
incandescent.
everyone say that even when my mom saw the pictures, and she said it too. Like she
So she
agreed with
thought that I
me
was
that
a light bulb.
you look kinda handsome.
Kinda.
That's a
Well,
fact.
that's fine. That was a compliment. But then, did she say that I look like a light bulb?
No.
Oh, okay. Well then, Tum, did you hear that? Did you hear that?
Yeah.
right? You see, there's still good people around, but not you, Chung, because apparently you have never given me the benefit of the doubt. Thang, darling, I'm not 25. I'm 29.
You 29? Oh my God.
I know, right? It's hard to
Oh my God,
believe.
you look
Hi.
really young. And actually, I'm rather a stalker, to be honest. And I checked your friend list, and so we have 5 mutual friends, and 2 of them, well, used to be my high school classmates.
Oh, really? But then who are
Yeah.
they?
So they are Tuyết Ngân and Tuấn Anh, Vũ Phạm Tuấn Anh. Yeah. They used to be my classmates. So yeah.
Well, then I do have to say, I must apologize, but I don't know who they are. But
You know who they are, but they are in your friend list.
well, I am quite sociable on the internet. But yes, I'm not 25. I might look like 25, but no, honey, I'm 29. Anyway, so you're 22, you're 23, right?
Yeah, I'm 23. Yeah.
Okay, well then, I guess that explains your philosophy in life for the time being. When I was at your age, I was guided by the same value. But at this age, you can say that I've had a change of heart. But you know what? Well, you get to just stick to your guts and do what feels right to you, okay? It's just that not all free things are of low quality. Screw you. You do realize that these support sessions are for free, right? How dare you?
Yeah,
Taking jabs at me.
I think they're theoretically, but in order to get a free consultation, I also have to pay the tuition fee, right? So I think it's part of the tuition fee. So
Well, that's a sound argument. Well, I guess you do have a point here. Let's move on then. Next person. Wait, hold on. Hian, please. Remember, you can speak about this topic between 1 and 2 minutes, and don't worry if I stop you. You should start speaking now.
Sorry, but which one gave me money or stayed for
You
longer
get to
than
pick your
expected?
poison. You get to pick your poison. The ball is in your court. Which
Okay.
one?
I picked the topic that I stayed for longer. Okay. So, well, today I'd like to share an experience when I had to stay in a place much longer than I originally planned. It happened during a trip to Da Nang City and Hue, a beautiful cities in central Vietnam. And so basically, at first, I was supposed to spend just around 4 days there. However, at that time, I went with my aunt, and Hue is also her hometown. So because of her homesickness, she decided to ask us stay longer for around 2 weeks in order to let her spend much time with her family and her relatives. So at that time, my parents allowed me to travel with her for longer in order to let me enjoy the wonderful time in my summertime. At first, I was a bit homesickness in Ho Chi Minh City. However, I have to say that it was one of the unforgettable trip for me because I had explored a lot of beautiful landscapes and also local dishes such as mì Quảng or cơm Huế. So it was one of the great treatment with me at that time. So to be honest, the extra time allowed me to unwind after a long, hardworking study term. And I think that I have collected a lot of wonderful memories for myself. Looking back, I'm actually glad that my parents allowed me to have this trip until now. Yes.
Thank you. Well, hold on, give me a moment. I'm finishing my notes. Thank you. Well then, do you often travel with your family?
Well, I rarely travel with my family. Most of the time will be on my own because my
Thank you.
parents are quite busy. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, one more victim and then we're good to go. Lan, please.
Yes. Can I choose the topic? I can't, right?
You can.
Okay. So I will talk about like the a time when someone give me money as a gift. Oh, like one times when someone give me money as a gift was on my 20th birthday. It was my parents who give it to me. Instead of buying me something specific like clothes or something, whatever, they give me an envelope and with some cash inside and told me to spend it on something meaningful. Other times, I have been saving up to buy a new laptop for studying because my old one was getting really slow. So I used the money as a part of the total amount I needed. Um, and with some of my old saving, I finally managed to get a lightweight laptop I still use now. Like it's um N2 MacBook N2, right? My parents decided to give me money rather than a present because they thought it would be more practical and flexible. They wanted me to choose something I truly needed it instead of guessing what I might like. I feel really grateful, not just for the money, but for the trust and the thoughtfulness behind the gift. It's made me feel more independent and responsible when I decided how to do it. That's all.
Okay. Okay, I'm just finishing the note. Okay, Lan, are you often given money by other people?
Yes, a lot. Like,
Wow.
uh, for example, my friends, sometimes when I say, talk to her that I'm really stressful and like I'm really exhausted, and instead of like give me something, she didn't say anything. She
Wow.
just like send some money to my
Okay.
bank account to like for and say that hey, take it and go to somewhere, go to Starbucks and like get a grab a drink or something. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Wow. You have a very specific
Good
type of
friends.
friend. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, to be honest, when it comes to money, I do love money. I like money a lot to the point that when I went to you'll see how my destiny was written for me. The I don't know what his job title was, but the man that was, reading my destiny said that, I loved money so much that it was written in my name and in my date of birth, right? But for my experience, I've never had, good luck with money. And by that I mean whenever I'm given money by other people, I tend to encounter lots of unfortunate events. So, like, even though I like money, I'm more superstitious. So I tend to avoid receiving money from other people. And whenever I hang out with my friends or my students, I take them to hot pot restaurants every once in a while. I pay for everything. because I don't want to be, unlucky because I have things to do. When you're working as a freelancer, like you're on your own and you have to really pull your own weight. So I don't want anything to drag me down. So if that means that I have to spend money, then I'm going to do just that. But okay, well,
Yes.
let me show you the screen here. We're going to move on. So we have two topics. Oh, by the way, I like to make a note here because when I was talking to Peng, I wanted to say, stick to your guns, but well, on the spur of the moment, I mixed up these two idioms, and I would like to rectify the mistake. Stick to your guns or trust your guts. It means to stick to your plan or your idea or trust your intuition, right? So you see, there are idioms that I really like, but even until this very day, I'm still mixing them up. Okay. So I guess it shows you that, even for someone of my caliber, we still make mistakes from time to time. And we're willing to admit to it. Okay. So these are two very nice idioms. I prefer the former though, because I'm not that intuitive, even though I'm superstitious. And sometimes my superstitions seem to cloud my judgments. But anyway, stick to your guns or trust your guts, right? Guns and guts. Okay. Now for Hyun, I thought that you were very fluent. At the beginning, it was a pretty smooth ride, but then, towards the middle and the end of the speech, I felt like you started losing control. There were a few mistakes, was a bit homesickness. I was a bit homesick, right? Myself looking back, you should have paused there. You should have paused after the word myself. And then looking back, right? I'm grateful that, my parents, paid for that trip until now. That was a very like Vietnamese way of, expressing this idea. You should have stopped at this trip. Okay. And the last word on my own, I feel like, this is somewhat a perennial problem for you because if I'm not mistaken, when I first met you, you couldn't really enunciate this word clearly. And now you're relapsing. It's on my own. Own. You have to finish it with an N at the end. Do that again. On my own.
On my own.
Yes, that sounds fine. But you do need to keep tabs on it because I feel like every once in a while, you're gonna forget that there is an N afterwards. But then again, I mix up my idioms as well. So like I'm not in the best position to criticize you, but this is something that is certainly within your grasp. Okay. For Tang, I thought that was a very nice speech. I would just recommend you to perhaps include more ideas so that you can cover, the entirety of the 2 minutes that you're given. And for the most part, I thought that your speech was pretty accurate. Was that something that really happened?
Well, actually, that mostly happened during my previous attempts. Yeah, like during except for the latest one when I choked a lot and I thought that my speech was under 1 minute because I had no ideas to say. Yeah.
Wait, hold on. What are you talking about? I was asking about the story that you were telling us. Did that really happen?
Yes, that happened. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
But
Well,
unfortunately, both of my parents passed away a year ago.
oh,
Yeah.
well, I give you my condolences.
Mm. Thanks.
Mm. Well, like responsible way, you missed an A there. Like a responsible way of spending money. Can you say that again?
Yeah,
And
like
it felt like a responsible way to spend money.
it felt like a responsible way to spend money. Yeah, I also noticed that I missed the A there because
Okay.
I thought that I swallow it when I spoke the phrase like a
Okay.
responsible way. Yeah, because when I connect the sound like the k sound with the sound, it felt like it was swallowed too much that it didn't get a real recorded. Yeah.
Okay. This has nothing to do with your performance, but during our like normal conversations, I noticed that your rhythm is a bit off and your intonation is a bit off as well. Can't quite place it, but that's food for thought then. I'll give you more details as I garner more information about the way that you speak. Okay. Now for Lan, I do have to say that I was very surprised by the fact that you were that fluent. You had a lot to offer. You were not that accurate, but I do have to say that in comparison to the Lan that I met a couple of years ago, you were super fluent in this particular topic. And I think that this is the only time you're gonna ever hear anything positive coming out of my mouth about you, okay? So soak it in. I thought that you did a wonderful job, although there were a few mistakes, okay? Like clothes, like something or whatever. Well, this is a sign of a lack of control. So I do think that you need to learn to, finish your sentences. Think in terms of, meaningful sentences and chunks of words, right? So you can say something like, they could have bought me something like clothes or, things like that. Personally, if you want to use phrases like things like that, you definitely need 2 or 3 examples before you try to, finish with, a phrase that is as, ambiguous as this one. So you can say something like clothes or, food or things like that. Okay. Don't say like something or whatever, because that is a telltale sign of, your inability to control what you want to say. Okay. I'll say that again, like clothes and, smartphone or things like that.
Like clothes or smartphone or clock or things like that.
Mm.
Is it better?
Smartphones with the S. Yeah, better.
Yes.
Okay. I have been saving up. Well, you were talking about a past event, and apparently, this is the amount of money that you had been saving up until that particular point in the past. So the correct tense here would be past perfect. I had been saving up, right? So that again. So I had this amount of money, which I had been saving up.
Can you say it again? I cannot
I
clearly
had
hear.
this amount of money, which I had been saving up.
I have some money that I have been saving up.
Not had been. Like the phrase
Had
have
been.
to stick together. I had this amount of money, which I had been saving up.
I have some money that I have been saving up.
Not have is had with the D at the end.
Has been.
No, had.
Has been. Had.
Yeah.
Has been saving up.
Okay. A present. Presents. You said presents, but it has to be present.
Oh, a present. Sorry, that's my fault.
And buy me a gift. You also missed an any sound here. Buy me a gift.
Buy a gift.
With the T at the end. Gift.
Gift.
Good. So I think that, well, you can clearly fix these mistakes. It's just that I do think that you need a lot more practice to, acquire a certain level of reflex that would allow you to cover all of these ending sounds without actually having to, do any sort of mental mathematics at the back of your mind.
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, we have two topics here. As I've mentioned, we need to keep things moving along because I have points to get to. So today we're going to focus on speaking part 2. And like my personal experience with speaking part 2 is that apparently it is really just, the continuum of speaking part 1. What you have to do is that you just piece a few speaking part 1 questions together. But this time around, the ball is in your court. You get to decide what you want to say as long as your content can stretch from 1 to 2 minutes, right? And what you say should make common sense. So, do what you must, right? You can invent your own story. You can borrow other people's ideas. You can describe something with lots of details, or you can just mention certain things very briefly so that you can go through some of the ideas that are more familiar to you, right? I think that when it comes to speaking part 2, all the things that you learned in speaking part 1 do apply. And I guess the trick of the trade here is that you need to, I guess, more strategic when it comes to your approach in speaking in general. Like a lot of speaking part 2 topics tend to, I guess, orient you in specific ways. And if you just go with the flow, well, you might think that you're going to be able to, give a really nice answer because what you say is going to be very organic. But, from my experience, I'm not quite sure about you guys, but I'm not that good when it comes to, speaking completely off the cuff. And there were a couple of times during which I essentially bombed my speaking part 2 because like I paid too much attention to certain parts of the topic that I was unable to connect to some of the ideas that I was more familiar with. So that's clearly had an impact on my fluency and my vocabulary choices. So I guess the bottom line is that when it comes to speaking part 2, make sure that you can combine some of the ideas that you're already familiar with so that you can sail through the topic without having to make a lot of efforts. And I like you to pay attention to this first segment, which is about the maintenance of a high level of fluency. So Nhung, I'd like you to read band 7 and Chung band 8.
Able to keep going and readily produce long turns without noticeable effort. Some hesitation and repetition and or self-correction may occur, often mid-sentence, and indicate problems with assessing appropriate language. However, these will not affect coherence. Flexible use of spoken discourse markers, connectives, and cohesive features.
Okay. Chung.
Born with only very occasional repetition or self-correction, hesitation may occasionally be used to find words or grammar, but most will be content-related. Topic development is coherent, appropriate, and relevant.
Okay. Well, I'd like to say, Chung, you were able to secure a 7.5 by showing up at that test location on an awfully thunderously stormy day. So I must give you a pat on your shoulder for your dedication to the test on that day. But yeah, I feel like you've been on a slippery slope and you have slipped. Okay. So I think at this point, all of you are aware of the fact that, when you do the speaking test, you definitely need to take the initiative of just keep on speaking, Like keep on producing long turns. And the difference between band 6 and band 7 is that, for band 7, you must sound sort of effortless in a way, right? So the best way to do so is to, cover ideas in sensible chunks of words. It's just that for band 7, sometimes there are lots of hesitation and, repetition and self-correction. And all of these, pauses tend to occur mid-sentences, okay? What was I trying to say again? Oh, yes. Yeah, lots of pauses are made in the middle of a sentence. And the impression is that you're trying to find the next word. And like in a real conversation, you get to do that, but you should only do that for very complicated words. For easy words, you definitely need to, be able to go through them quite effortlessly. And if you can do that, that's band 8 for fluency, okay? So one way for you to ensure a good impression in terms of fluency is that whenever you make a pause, you need to generate a sort of complete idea. And then when you continue speaking, you can, cover the entire chunk of words instead of, just going through 1 or 2 words at a time. Again, like there's nothing wrong with like pausing to find the right word to help you articulate your thoughts. It's just that it should not happen on a frequent basis. So you get like 3 or 4 shots before your examiner starts penalizing your performance. Okay, good. And as you can see for band 9 here, you see this line of description regarding hesitation. Any hesitation that occurs is used only to prepare the content of the next utterance and not to find words or grammar. So if you say something like, when I was a kid, I really disliked mathematics because, it had lots of complicated formulas. That's band 9. For band 7, it might be something like, when I was a kid, I really disliked mathematics because it had lots of like hard and challenging equations, right? If you speak with that particular rhythm, it's a telltale sign that you're band 7, okay? The difference between band 8 and 9, in my opinion, is that like for band 8, sometimes the examiner would like to know a bit more about what you're trying to say. For instance, if you're saying that a particular festival is really interesting and you make zero effort to give 1 or 2 details regarding how exciting that festival is, then that's an 8, right? Because even though there is some sort of development in your content, it's coherent, it's appropriate, but it's not fully coherent and it's not appropriately extended because you leave the examiner hanging, right? So when it comes to idea development, you should develop this habit of adding details, right? Don't list things out. Whenever you mention something, try to give your answer a few more details, right? And there's nothing wrong with using adjectives like interesting, fascinating, amazing, but you definitely need to describe before you conclude your answers with these seemingly easy but actually very abstract words. Okay. Now, what are we supposed to do here? Develop the following points on your own. Do you think your answer makes sense? I think that, okay, so for the first topic, which is about the time when you went to somewhere that you stayed for longer than you expected, we have a few hints here, okay? So I've already given you the first words of each point. And your job now, which is very challenging, is to construct a speech completely on the fly. Well, then good luck. Nhung, please, I want to throw you under the bus first. Come on. I'm going to tell you about the Sapa trip that I made with my friends several years ago.
Well, I'm going to tell you about the Sabbath trip that I made with my friends several years ago. At that time, we were all working for the same company. And like after the whole year working so hard, we decided to plan for a trip together so that we could relax and maybe do some fun activities in that location. So we decided to pick Sapa basically because all of us like didn't have a chance to explore that place before, and it was also a place like with natural beauty and cool atmosphere. So I really enjoyed like exploring that. So we arrived at Sapa on a lovely day. And as expected, we could do so many things there. Like we went camping, had a barbecue party together, and we could also visit some kind of local villages, which were very beautiful. And
Thank you.
yeah,
I had to stop you there because you were on a roll, girl. You made only one mistake. Did you say meet many villagers or villages?
yeah, visit some local villages.
Okay. Well, that would make more sense. But when I heard it for the very first time, I actually thought that you were saying villagers. So, I put two and two together, expecting that you would say who, but then you say which, right? So perhaps, it was my mistake, but well, in the name of the IELTS test, that would be your mistake because you caused some confusion. Okay. As for the rest of your speech, I thought that it was fine. Okay. Do you often join speaking support sessions?
Yes, with Miss G.
Nice. Well, these sessions seem to be working in your favor. All right, cool. Well, um, Thắng, then do you think that that Nhung's answer made sense?
Well, I think yes, she did that, and her answer really made sense for me. Mhm.
So her answer made sense. Okay, cool. Now, let's have a look at the original script here. Um, Hiền, please just read the whole thing. Is Hiền in
I'm
the
going
building?
to tell you about the Saba
Mm.
trip that I made with my friend several years ago. At the time, we were all working for the same company. I was the head of the science department, which meant I had a lot on my plate. At one point, I was working around the clock, and I felt like I was running on empty. So I decided to take a break and hop on a trip to Sabah with my friends to recharge my batteries. So we arrived at Sabah on a lovely day. The weather was gorgeous. We originally planned to stay there for 2 days only because from the clips on TikTok that we had seen, the town didn't have much to offer outside of natural landscapes and coffee shops with views of mountain ranges and things like that. So in these 2 days, we did a lot of sightseeing from dawn to dusk. We also enjoyed local food to our heart's content, which was great. But the thing was about walking every day was that it was very tiring. So we all decided to postpone.
Our departure. Hello. Can you see my screen?
I have just Zoom out. Okay. Okay. So we all decided to postpone our departure and stay there for one more day. We slept until midday, which was
Revitalizing.
revitalizing. Then my friends did some shopping. They went to the central market to buy some souvenirs.
Fine. Okay, cool. There were two words that you slightly mispronounced at one point. So there must be an oin, not an on. At one point.
At one point.
No, point.
Point.
Yes, you need an oi. It's oi not all right? So it's at one point. One more time.
At one point.
No, quite murky. Do that again. At one point.
At one point.
You need to work on that. And this one, this is a phrase. You cannot break it. With views of mountain ranges. Come on. Coffee shops with views of mountain ranges.
Coffee shop with views of mountain ranges.
I'm pretty sure I did not say mountain ranges. I said coffee shops with views of mountain ranges. You have to go up at the end.
And coffee shops with views of mountain ranges.
No, ranges. Here.
Ranges.
No, not ranges. It's ranges. You have to go up. Ranges.
Ranges.
Yes. Do that again. Coffee shops with views of mountain ranges.
Coffee shops with views of mountain ranges.
Okay. So what I'm trying to tell you is that, well, first of all, that was a very nice read. You certainly had a wonderful flow. It didn't take you long to, find your groove, and you were able to, divide these sentences into, sensible chunks of words almost, well, the entire time, except for, a few parts there. And you are clearly capable of adjusting your intonation. But as I've mentioned, I do think that, you need a bit more practice to acquire a certain level of reflex, right? When you do, the speaking test, you don't really have a lot of time to like formulate your thoughts carefully. And like you have to still pronounce all the words clearly. So, your pronunciation has to be on autopilot. And the only way to do that is through, muscle memory. So, practice a bit more with your intonation. I'm not quite sure, how much is enough, right? But yeah, practice more. Okay, now let's talk about how the ideas are extended. Lan, please. The first part, what is the actual answer for the first, hold on, what's the first question again? Let me drag the topic down. Okay, you have an introduction. Which question did this paragraph actually address? Okay, Nhung. Lan, which question did this paragraph address?
I just said that okay Nhung, so I thought that what's that?
Do you need to go to the toilet now?
No.
Oh, okay. Here, so you see this paragraph. At the time, we were all working for the same company, so on and so forth. Did this paragraph address any question in the given topic?
No.
No, right? Well then, when you read it or when you heard it for the very first time, did it stand out, did it stand out for all the wrong reason? Did you feel like it made sense in this particular context?
If I'm in this case, I'm like
As a normal
I'm gonna
listener, we're
skip
not
it.
supposed to. No. The question is, when you heard it for the very first time, did you notice that this part was not supposed to be in this script?
Yes, I think so.
You
It's
noticed
like
that?
we talk about yes. Because like we just talk about the trip, right?
Yes.
Yes. And I don't think it's like supposed to be a part of this.
Did it make sense to you though?
Yes, it makes sense, but it's quite like go quite long for the answers. I don't know how to say, but it makes
Okay,
sense.
let's just stop for now, because I feel like sometimes when I ask people this question, they go back and forth with a very like surgical approach. Like they are considering the entire paragraph, versus the entire script, and then they make assessments. What I'm asking for is for you to say whether you think that this particular part makes sense. Yeah, that's all. Thắng, then, when you heard it for the very first time, did you think that, well, it made sense, or did it stand out for any reason?
I think it makes sense for me, but to be honest, for the first time, when they say that at that time we were all working for the same company, I was wondering, why? Why was this a reason? And then after hearing that, so I decided to take a break and hop to a trip to Sapa with my friends to recharge my batteries. I think, oh, it makes sense now because it was really an unorthodox way for like native people to develop their for ESL learners, to be honest, to develop an idea like that. Mhm.
Okay, so apparently this particular paragraph does not address any question in the original queue, right? Not in the queue, but it makes sense. And you see, when it comes to speaking part 2, you don't really have to stick to the script, even though it's safer to do so. But what I'm trying to illustrate with this particular paragraph is that the whole point of speaking part 2 is to assess your ability to continuously develop your ideas, right? So as long as your ideas still make sense, well, that's fine. Okay. And do you know why I employed this particular idea in this particular topic? Tang. Well, we were talking, so I like to
So
continue the conversation. Do you know why I
uh,
decided to, go with this idea?
mm, I think that you wanted to tell a story to lead to the reason because
Okay.
if you say that, so I decided um to hop on trips with my friends to recharge my batteries right at the beginning. I think it doesn't make sense at all. I think you need a story that leads
Thank
to
you.
that.
Thank you.
It's not like a writing test too. Yeah.
Thank you. Chung, you've been with me for quite a while. Do you know why I decided to include this part in my speech?
Well, I don't know.
Really? Oh, I was counting on you as my bedrock, and you decided to just, leave me hanging like this? Oh, who else can I count on? Well, Chung, well, it's not that I'm disappointed in you, but like you've been around and you've seen this idea more than a few times and you can't work out the reason why I decided to include that in. The reason here is because this was a familiar idea that could make sense, right? So I decided to, include this particular idea mostly because I knew how to say it, and, this particular part made sense in this particular context. Okay, Tang? I wanted to tell a story, but like there were other ways to, tell the story as well. It's just that like when I was doing the test, as I've mentioned, I was not, that calm, and I was prone to, making mistakes. So I opted for, a more beaten track. And by that I mean I definitely went for an idea that would allow me to, cover, let's say 30 seconds without having to make a lot of effort. Okay? That was the reason. Okay, let's continue. So we arrived at Sapa on a lovely day. The weather was gorgeous. We originally planned to stay there for 2 days only because from the clips on TikTok that we had seen, the town didn't have much to offer outside of natural landscapes and coffee shops with views of like mountain ranges and things like that. So, Hian, please, would you consider this to be a topic-specific idea, or, like a general idea that I know how to cover? Hian,
I think that it's in specific idea about how long you planned to stay.
and what are the signs?
The sign.
I mean, of course, this particular part is tied to the topic, but how can you tell that it's, it was more likely something that I, came up on the spot instead of something that I had already prepared?
Like in the sentence of we originally planned to stay there for 2 days only. I think that is it, like you go right on the spot to state your idea.
I don't think that you understand what I'm talking about. Okay,
Yes.
well, what I'm trying to say is that, when I construct my speaking part to script, well, I don't have script, but essentially I'm referring to, the speech that's going to come out of my mouth. I tend to employ two types of ideas. The first one would be, the ideas that I'm more familiar with. So, the first paragraph is an example of that. Like I talk about my colleagues all the time. It doesn't really matter if I go to Sapa or Da Nang, or go to a wedding, or have a happy experience, or or go to an event where I have to pose for a photo, or go on a trip that required me to save up for a long period of time. I would always talk about my path like that, right? And it's mostly because I know how to navigate this particular idea very well. And I can, flip the script and, tweak things a little bit to, make it make sense in different contexts, right? I can talk about this idea in the past, at the present, and perhaps, in the future, right? So I know how to essentially, turn this particular idea in other versions, okay? But for the second idea, as you can see that, there are more, simple sentences, and like the details are not that intricately that what I'm trying to say is that the details are not that well connected, and this is a topic specific idea. It is used only for Sapa, and I came up with this idea on the spot because I had to say something, right? But yeah, this was something that I had not prepared for, but I was still able to cover this idea in a fluent way because at this point I had already, hit my stride and I was a lot more confident, in my flow. Okay. So this is a topic specific idea and I came up with it completely, off the cuff. Next, then, Lan, please just read the last part and we're gonna evaluate whether or not it is a typical idea or a topic specific idea. Yeah. Lan, read it.
I think it's a particular ideas because like you can say like the reason why you choose stay longer than expected, and you always say that the plan to stay only like for 2 days, but you actually stay in one more, so which means that 3 days.
Okay, well, in your opinion,
Right.
is this a
When
typical idea that can be used in many situations, or like a one-time kind of idea, a one-off kind of idea?
I think that is one you can use for any ideas, right?
Any context?
Maybe. I think.
Okay. So, well, this is a typical idea for me because I tend to talk about food, not in very specific details, but as part of my, experience in different locations. Like, um, it doesn't really matter if I'm going to Sapa or going to a street market or hanging out with friends or having, a wonderful time and, smiling from ear to ear, or, um, you know, um, like trying something new for the very first time. I tend to talk about food. So all of these ideas are typical ideas for me. Well, except maybe not all, but perhaps, 50% and one or two sentences, right? So this part here would be typical idea. This part though would be topic specific, improvised. And I think one of the telltale signs of ideas that are, invented on the spur of the moment is that, they're often expressed in very short sentences, right? So yeah, that's all. What I'm trying to tell you is that, through this particular script, this is an authentic script, by the way. It is far shorter than, what I tend to show you in, other lessons. And through this particular script, I guess the message that I'm trying to deliver is that like there are many approaches when it comes to speaking. And one of the most prevailing philosophies when it comes to speaking is that you need to speak your truth, you need to express yourself, so on and so forth. And I agree with that, but that is not synonymous with like just trying to be blunt and essentially choosing a path that would lead to nowhere. Okay, the point of the speaking test is to check whether you can take out a lot of boxes, with one of them being your ability to extend your answers effortlessly. So while there's nothing wrong with like expressing yourself organically, sometimes doing so can backfire. Okay, so my solution and my suggestion to all of you is that you should definitely master a handful of ideas that can be used in many situations. I'm giving you some inspiration here because I feel like whenever I give you like very specific templates, you tend to essentially just avoid my request and always say things that are unplanned. And there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that like as a teacher, I have to make sure that you learn something from the course, and the things that you learn can be of value. So instead of giving you concrete templates, I'm giving you an inspiration here. You definitely need to hammer out some ideas that you can use in different situations. And in this particular script, there are two typical ideas that I'm showing you. The first is ideas about like my work schedule, right? I was the head of the science department, which meant I had a lot on my plate. At one point, I was working around the clock and it felt like, I was running on empty. So I decided to take a break, right? There are other versions of this idea. Like at one point, I said something like, well, at the time, I was the head of the science department and I felt like, I was like spreading myself too thin because I was responsible for two projects. The first was to, rewrite some old materials, and the other was to compile some new resources. And obviously, the former was the lesser of the two evils. So I decided to just plunge headlong into the first one. So as you can see, based on my fluency, you can tell that I'm very fluent and I'm very familiar with these ideas. Okay. And like in the test, I'm not gonna go through, my ideas in a mechanical way. I'm gonna keep it cool and I'm gonna maintain a nice pace, right? But just because, I'm maintaining, a nice speed, it does not mean that, I'm speaking everything that I'm talking about all the things that have, suddenly sprung to mind, because that's just not the truth. Okay. There are ideas that I'm more familiar with and I can employ them very flexibly. And then there are ideas that are totally new to me. And I definitely need to make, I guess, more efforts, to actually articulate my thoughts. And, if you try talking about a wide range of topics, you'll get a reality check really fast, right? Because it's one thing for you to talk about, the food that you enjoy. It's another for you to talk about, let's say, synesthesia. But I was given that topic yesterday, and I had no idea what to say, and I did my very best to keep the conversation going, but I was out of my depth. Okay, so even though the speaking test does not check your knowledge, it does check your ability to just keep things moving along. Okay, and you can't always fall back on the excuse of, well, I haven't talked about this before, I haven't thought about this before, right? That's not the point, and your examiner doesn't care whether or not you have gained enough experience in a particular topic. That's your burden, right? But when you do the test, of course, you want to get a high score. And my advice is for you to, practice with a wide range of topics, but at the same time, you need to, condense some of the things that you have learned and perhaps, recrystallize them to form something that you can use in different contexts. Okay? Okay. Wow, how was that monologue? Chung, are you asleep now?
Kinda, no.
Kinda? The balls of you?
No.
Okay. Well, we're gonna move on to another script here. And I would like you to, well, test the vocabulary, read the script, and fill in the blanks as you go. Okay? Let's see. We have a few more students, but they're not here today. Oh, like, my IELTS classes are definitely going through a rough patch. But I guess it's worth it because my science class is on fire. Okay, Tang, then let's put you to the test. You can do the first bit, and then Hyun, you can do the second bit. Here. So Tang, go from here to here, and then Hyun from here to here.
Okay, so for the first blank, I would go with it was many moons ago.
No. You need to read and fill in the blank.
Fill in the blank at the same time. Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to tell you about a time when I went on a trip to Sapa with a friend of mine. It was many moons ago, back when I was still working for my previous company. It was during Tet holiday, after a really stressful end of year examination period. A friend of mine returned from the US, so I thought that it would be a good idea for us to go on a trip. He wanted to go somewhere and I need a break to recharge my battery, so we picked Sapa, a lovely town in northern Vietnam. Mhm.
Okay, thank you. Hiền then. Hiền, you need to wing it. Come on. Hiền, can you hear us?
Yes, I have just,
Go.
yeah.
So we arrived at Sapa and checked the hotel.
So we arrived at Sapa and checked in the hotel, which was pretty nice, by the way. The room was spacious and had lovely views of the mountains. And one morning, when we were hanging out in a coffee shop, he gave me $3 million as a gift, which is surprising. I mean, at my age, people don't just randomly give me money. So I asked him what it was for, and he said that he couldn't bring anything from the US as a present. So he was traveling empty-handed, and he wanted to give me money instead. So I gladly took the money, but then spent all of it on food. We went to local restaurants and ate to midnight. What struck a chord with me about Saba's food was that it was amazing, so all of the meals were perfect.
Okay. Okay. Let's do that again. We have a list, not a list, but well, a few options here. Now, Lan, please read the script again and cover the first two blanks. So I'm going to tell you about a time.
The whole script.
No, just from here to here.
Okay. So I'm going to tell you about times when I went on a trip to Sapa with a friends of mine. That it
It
was
was
many months ago, back when I was still working for my previous company. It was during test holiday after a really stressful end of year's examinations period. My friends of mine returned from the US, so I thought that it would be a good idea for us to go on a trip. He wanted to go somewhere, and I needed to break. Uh, I needed a break to 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 recharge my part to
and
recharge
batteries.
my battery. So we picked a Sapa, a lovely town in the north of Vietnam.
Thank you. Tum, continue. So we arrived at Sapa and checked in the hotel.
So we arrived at Sapa and checked in a hotel, which was pretty nice. But by the way, the room was beautifully decorated and had lovely views of the mountains. And one morning, when we were hanging out in a coffee shop, he gave me $3 million as a gift, uh, which took me by surprise. I mean, at my age, people don't. Uh, oh,
At my, I
people don't.
mean, at my age, people
I mean, at my.
don't just randomly give me money.
I mean, at my age, people don't just randomly give me money. So I asked him what it was for, and he said that he couldn't bring anything from the U.S. as a present. So he was traveling empty-handed, and he wanted to give me money instead. So I gladly took the money, but then spent all of it on food. When
Continue.
we went to local restaurants and ate to
Our
our heart's content. What struck out with me about Sapa's food was that it was seasoned to perfection, so all the meals were perfect.
perfect. Okay. So, that's the question at the end here. What do you notice about the ideas between the two answers? Tang. Is there anything to be noticed?
Well, I think that for the, I would say the third paragraph of this speech, I thought that it was really different. And also the second paragraph, it was really different as well. Because for the second paragraph of the previous script, you mentioned about the reason why you chose to move out to to go on a trip to Sapa. But this reason was is I think really different because it's not related to work, but it's more related to of I would
friend.
say a friend, a private relationship. And for the arrival here, I think that you mentioned more about not only us, not too much about activities, but more about the decoration, about the food, and so on. Yeah.
Okay. Well then, let's say if you were to give like a rough estimation of like the percentage of ideas that had been prepared before the script, before the test, what would your estimation be?
Yeah,
About
for this script.
mm,
So I think that it may be like from 25 to 30%.
okay. And Hian, would you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I dare to say that, I mean, on the surface, this has the same vibe as the original script, as the first script, right? This particular script is also about a trip that I made with a friend of mine, and I do think that it's very different. But then there's still elements of ideas that I'm familiar with. So this part here, this is a typical idea, right? This part though is a topic-specific idea. And by that I mean, well, it only works in this particular topic. And or at the very least, I haven't really thought about, using this particular idea in other contexts. But I do think that I often say that I need a break to recharge my battery. So within this particular, topic-specific idea, there is still a phrase that I use in many situations, a common idea in many situations, okay? I needed a break to recharge my batteries. So, I was working really hard, all week long, and I really needed to recharge my batteries. So, my friends and I went to this coffee shop, somewhere in Daeho district, right? Still a very common phrase. Down here, so we arrived at Sapa and checked in the hotel, which was pretty nice, by the way. The room was beautifully decorated and had lovely views of the mountains. Sure, this part here, bum 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 bum, all the way down here, topic specific, right? But towards the end, I reverted to a general or a typical idea. So let me describe what happened at the back of my mind as I was going through this particular topic. First of all, I really wanted to talk about this particular trip here. It never happened. So I had like a vision of the script that I wanted to deliver. And I knew that I would incorporate some of the elements that I was already familiar with, namely, ideas about my work schedule and, things about food, because as I've mentioned, I often talk about things of that nature, right? But then, after the first, typical idea here, I felt like, I definitely hit the ground running and I was able to, find my groove. So that gave me the confidence to, just step out of my comfort zone and just start talking about this particular friend of mine, right? And well, I stuck to my guns, and that was a good decision because then I was able to cover this entire paragraph without breaking a sweat. Well, this particular part of him, giving me like $3 million as a gift was an actual detail. Yes, darling. Last year, not last year, but earlier this year during that holiday, a friend of mine from the US, flew back to Vietnam, and we met up. And well, he came with his wife, but when his wife was, looking away, he, snuck up on me, and then he snuck up on me, and then he slid, a bit of money in my pockets. Like, that's something that grandparents do to their grandchildren, right? They can't give the kids money in front of their parents, so they would have to, do it in a very like surreptitious way, in a very, sneaky kind of way. So he put some money in my pocket, and I thought that, it was like 200 or something like that. But then it turned out to be 300, no, not 300, $3 million, right? So that shocked me. I still have that money in my what's the name of that brand again? Lacoste. Yes, I still have that money in my Lacoste wallet, which was given to me by a former student. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that, so for this particular part, I had a lot of ground to cover because well, it was something that I actually experienced, right? So I definitely benefited from having a real experience, and it was very organic for me. But at this particular part, I felt like I was running on empty because I had covered all of the organic ideas, and the examiner didn't seem to want to stop me. So that was the reason why I had to switch tactics and tapped in my and what type of idea is this? Typical idea, right? So I had to revert to this particular type of ideas because I was running on empty at this point. So I gladly took the money and then spent all of it on food, right? And then I was talking about food, so I felt like, all right, this would be a nice point for me to bridge that connection to this whole thing about food description, which was more up my alley. Okay, so what I'm trying to tell you is that when it comes to like speaking preparation and practice, there's nothing wrong with speaking organically, right? But it's just that like in the speaking test, there are rules, right? And I guess it's one thing for you to have like a breadth of experiences. It's another for you to gain depth, and sometimes you definitely need to go through your certain ideas again and again so that you can develop mastery and also accuracy, right? I mean, band 6, it's suitable for those who can cover a nice range of topics without a lot of emphasis on accuracy. For band 7, 8, and 9, though, the emphasis is actually more on accuracy. And essentially, the wider the range you display, the higher the level of accuracy must accompany it. Okay, so yeah, that's the point. I do encourage you to develop ideas that you know how to use very well, and it doesn't mean that you have to like use these familiar ideas in a very robotic way. You can make changes the way you see fit, right? Sometimes you can use like one paragraph. Sometimes you feel like perhaps you only need 1 or 2 sentences just to help you find your groove. And once you found your rhythm, you can just keep on speaking without missing a beat because you have already hit your stride. Okay. Any question thus far? Yeah, these are the 2 main points that I want to talk about. So let me write down the notes here. Notes. Prepare. Not prepare, but not prepare in robotic kind of way, but develop. Yeah, develop. That's a better word. Develop typical ideas that are used in different situations. You can talk about your schedule. You can talk about your interests. You can talk about money. You can talk about food. You can talk about weather. Like, for the class from 5.5 to 6.5, and there's this legendary template of a horrible traveling day. It goes something like, all right, so we arrived at this particular destination, but everything just went south, right? And it started raining completely out of nowhere, and the streets were very slippery, and the final nail in the coffin was the fact that all of our clothes were also wet, right? So we couldn't go anywhere, and the only silver lining was that the TVs in our rooms were working well, so we had something to kill time with, right? So there's that storyline of horrible things happened, what the final nail in the coffin was, and what the silver lining was, that sort of thing. Weather, okay. And try to develop typical ideas that are used in different situations, and test the ideas in different topics, because you might need to make changes, okay? I think that this particular method has been antagonized by lots of students and teachers, mostly because of the fact that you're asking students to become robots, right? And I do agree that we should not force people to say the things that they don't really understand or they don't really relate to. But at the same time, I believe that to attain accuracy, you must be disciplined in one way or another. So if you don't want to use my ideas, fine. Well, then develop your own and make sure that you use these ideas as often as you can. Okay. And there's also another form of resistance, which is that you feel like you have to develop ideas all the time, because if you keep on repeating the ideas that you're very familiar with, you're going to sound like a broken record, and before you know it, you might become a one-trick pony, being able to only speak using a certain set of ideas. But I think that for students of this particular caliber, you can deal with a nice range of topics, and when you join in support sessions, or when you practice with your friends, or any other platforms that you can access, you can cover a nice range of topics. But I think that for a lot of people, they tend not to pay attention to whether their pronunciation is clear, or whether their grammar structures are accurate, or whether their word choices make sense, right? So you need to pay attention to these fine details as you improve your speaking skills. Okay, well then that's it. Any question thus far?
Well, I have a question.
Yes.
Can I include like a name or a place in particular as a typical idea?
Sure, but it's not going to amount to much, because what you need is an idea, and an idea is not just a sentence. It should be, a statement and then lots of details.
I understood. Thank
you. Okay. Lan, any question? I know that this is your first lesson with me in a long time. I hope that you're in complete shock, mostly because of how young I actually look.
That's the only thing that I shocked in today.
Okay. All right.
Okay,
All right,
so
let's
far,
play.
no questions.
No question. Okay.
So far.
Wow. Okay, let's play Blue Kid. Let's end end things on a high and creepy note. Hop on. Oh, let me give you the link. Tang, have you ever played this game?
Well, I have not, but I have played like PCs or Kahoot before, but okay, never.
Okay, that's a long answer for no. Hop on, people, hop on. Chum, hop on. Chum, I have a question. Has your mom indulged you with anything fancy after you dragging yourself to that BC center on an awfully rainy and windy day and getting the score that you were aiming for?
Definitely yes.
Really?
Yeah.
What did she buy you? A car? A house?
No. Like a camera.
A nice camera, let me guess. $50 million.
No, not that much.
How much was it?
Like
49.
I passed my old one,
Hmm.
and she like give me a half of the new camera.
So, what was the final number?
I can't say.
Hmm. Can I guess? You can confirm the range.
Yeah.
Between, let's say, from around 5 million. Yes or no? Around it.
Over. Higher.
Okay. Over 5 but below 10.
Higher.
Okay. Oh, things are getting so interesting. I like working with privileged individuals who were born with a silver spoon in their mouths. Let's continue. Between 10. Let me jump the gun here. Let me go all the way overboard. Between 15 and 20.
15, 20. Yes.
What? Okay, so you got that much of a present just for
No,
passing an IELTS test?
my old one was nearly a half of that much. I passed my old camera.
No, so I'm asking about what your mom contributed. So it's in the 5 million range then.
No, it was 10.
And wow, can you imagine that? Being given roughly 10 million just for passing a test?
No,
Oh,
because I have to take picture for her.
that's just an excuse. That's your mom telling you that, okay, I can give you something because of your hard work and the fact that, I want to indulge you, but I cannot afford to do that because you're going to turn out to be, a spoiled brat who is not grateful for any things of consequence in this life. So I have to give you money in a way that would teach you value. Hmm. Wow, privileged. Anyway, as for this game here, Tang is living up to his name. Let's put on some music. Lan, I know that you're using my name, gloomily. You better step up your
No,
game
it's
and
not. No, I'm not.
do not tarnish my
No.
name, okay?
No, I'm not. À.
Wow.
Chết rồi,
The race
anh
is
ơi cái tên này
closing
không
in.
phù hợp rồi. Sao vậy?
Lan, you better do something.
Anh
Do
extend
not
ra đi.
finish at the bottom. I'm very disappointed in you. Miss Noblande, you masqueraded around as me. And also, I'm gloomy, not angry. Why this face? Anyway. Okay, so thank you, Lan, for doing next to nothing. You ended up at the bottom.
Không phải đâu,
Okay.
em thề với anh là em toàn đi vào chữ nothing thôi. Nothing duy nhất
Well,
em muốn là nothing biết là that to holiday, nhưng mà cái nothing này sao á, cái tên không hợp rồi.
well, I guess you should have done next to nothing because you always got nothing. Perhaps something. Well, I guess the next to nothing box could have been better. Just saying. Chung, third place, as you can tell, you've been on a slippery slope. You need to pull yourself together because you used to win games like this, Chung. Thắng, that was a good game, and Hiền, first place. Well, are you surprised by the fact that you're first place?
Yes, I try my best to keep tab on the correct answers. Like I can this time.
Well, I appreciate your very conspicuous effort to use that idiom to keep tabs on. But okay, that's it for today. I'll see you next week. Right? This 25-year-old person will see you next week.